Hi, this is Linda. And if you watched the last video, you saw that it was titled Lesson 23. However, it wasn't Lesson 23. It was the previous video I accidentally uploaded twice. I'm not going to delete it because so many people have watched the second time I put it on, and I don't want to lose what comments or other things you might have done with that one, so I'll leave them both up. But this one is the real Lesson 23. I also wanted to say before I begin, for those of you who watched the previous video, I mentioned Ukraine, but I also realized that many other countries are having a hard time, and there are people who are suffering in many countries. And my heart goes out to all of you, and I care about you also. The reason I mentioned Ukraine was because it was fresh in my mind. It had just happened, and I wanted to express that to my students. But I know that many of you are also having difficulties like that. And I will be praying for you as well. And so now, the real English lesson 23. It is called Talking in American English, Lesson 23, Verbs in a Story. Now, on that big poster that I showed you a long time ago, this was the next to the last section. And this one is hard. Beginning students may not get it, what I'm saying. And that's okay. Just read the sentences, practice the pronunciation, and realize these are good sentences that you may use sometime. But this is in a story. When I'm telling a story, the verbs change a little bit. Something ended at a time earlier than right now. And to say that, I have to use were and was instead of are and am or is. So I'm going to use the verb go. Let me show you quickly the poster that I showed you a long time ago. Here is go, goes, going, went, gone. Now, what I'm talking about only applies to the third form and the fifth form because those are the only ones that use helpers. So I've said in the past is and am and are going, and have or has gone. However, you know sometimes we say was going and were going or had gone. So this lesson is talking about when we change those helpers for these two, not for anything else, but for those two, we want to change them so that the whole thought is in the past. So let's use the word go that I showed you. I'm only doing going and gone because the others are not affected. So if it's in the past, you were going, we were going, they were going, and then the negative, you were not going or you weren't going, we were going, we were not going, we weren't going, they were going, they were not going, they weren't going. We're using were as our helper. Now these can be verbs by themselves. I'm talking about when they are helpers to another verb. And I got changed from up here to this when it's in this form. I was going, he was going, she was going, it was going. And in the past, for example, I was not going, I wasn't going. I won't do the others, but it's the same way. And then when it was have or has, I had gone, you had gone, we had gone, they had gone, he had gone, she had gone, it had gone. And in the negative, I'll use we this time, we had not gone or we hadn't gone. Now this is the form that we're using. And it's different from the 5 forms that I showed you before because of the helper, not because of the verb itself. The ing form stays ing. The 5th form with its odd spelling still there. But have and has changed, and am, is, are changed. So we're going to look at some sentences to illustrate that, and a little more explanation along with that. These are verbs in a story, so that in my mind, which is what I'm talking about, I'm not giving you the technical terms, but in my mind, everything is moving toward the past. Here's right now, and I'm cutting it from right now, and it's in the past. To do that, verb forms 1 and 2 change to verb form 4. Now, verb form 4 can stay 4 because it's already past. But am and is and are not past, and they become was or were. Have and has are not past, so they become had. These are the helpers changing. Now, we talk about general past having, have and has, but the general past, the verb following it is what has become fifth form. These were not fifth form, they were just helpers to fifth form. So let me illustrate that with starting from now. This is what we're familiar with in the past. Starting from right now, they sing, he sings. That's our anytime happening. They sing. I'm not telling you when. I am singing, they are singing right now. I sang a specific time, or I could say I sang in high school. It's a little bit of stretched out time, but it's still specific time. They have sung. Somewhere back there, they have sung. She has sung. Somewhere back there. This is what we've been doing over and over and over again with different verbs. Now, here we go in a story. The same information, but I'm separating it in my mind from right now. It doesn't go all the way back to right now. Okay. They sang, he sang, came from they sing, he sings. I am singing, they are singing becomes I was singing, they were singing, and I'm separating it from now. I sang can stay I sang because it's still in the past. I could say had sung. They have sung, he has sung changes to they had sung. She had sung. But as soon as I use the had, it sounds like there's something else here. I had sung when? Before the audience left. So two things are happening and I separated. The audience left, but before that, I had sung. So let me give you some examples in some sentences. First of all, I want to do another comparison. This is not in a story, and this is the same thing in a story. So let me do this one first, in a story. This is happening. I walk into a store. Right now, I'm in a store, and I have been in this store many times, so I can say something at any time. The employees work long hours. That's form 1. The supervisor works even longer. That's form 2, which is still anytime. These are things I'm aware of that happen all the time. Now I go to form 3. I am visiting the store. Still form 3. My grandmother is shopping with me. Still form 3. The customers are buying many more items. And still form 3, but it's a longer version. The customers are being offered good prices. Now I'm going to form 4. I'm still in the present, but I'm talking about something earlier. So I'm not breaking off myself from the past, but this happened in the past. The store broke a record for sales last week. And the 5th form, somewhere back there, the store has broken a record for sales 5 times this year. The quality of items in the store has been improved as well, all the way up to now, but going far back, and I'm not telling you how far back. Most items' profits from sales have grown. So it's all the way up to now, but from now backwards in time, profits have grown. Now I'm going to separate myself from right now. It's many years later. Maybe the store isn't even there anymore, and I'm just going to where it used to be and remembering. This is what I remember, and I'm telling you the story. The employees worked long hours. I remember that. The supervisor worked even longer hours. So 1 and 2 changed to the fourth form, which is normal. We haven't done anything new yet until we get to the 3s. I was visiting the store a long time ago. I was visiting the store. My grandmother was shopping with me. The customers were buying many more items. I remember that. The customers were being offered good prices way back then. Maybe not now, but way back then, they were offered good prices. The store broke a record for sales that week. It's a week in the past, very far past, but I don't have to change a 4. It's already past. I could say had broken, but I don't have to. The store had broken a record for sales 5 times that year. Earlier, I said the store has broken, but now I'm pushing it away from right now. It's not connected. The quality of items in the store had been improved as well. Now, if the store's still here, there is a chance the product is not good, the quality. But back there, in that past story I'm telling you, the quality had been getting better. Most items' profits from sales had grown back there. Are they growing now? I don't know. But back there in my story, sales had grown. Now let me give you a few examples more before we stop. We have 2 events. Usually it's 2 events. It doesn't have to be 2 events. Those sentences I just gave you, they were just 1 event, but many times it's 2 events. Event 1, this is not verb form 1, it's event 1 and event 2, and this is right now. Something happens before now, and then something is happening now. So this one got pushed back. This one is in the now. That's not very common, but we sometimes do that. Here's an example. Oh, let me continue. The first event is cut off from now. That's what I was explaining. Scissors, cut it off. These are the things that were happening. The clouds turn red. The sun sets. Or I could say the clouds have turned red, then the sun sets. Now this is still happening, but this happened earlier. The clouds are already red. The clouds had turned red as the sun sets, or the sun is setting. This is happening now, and this happened earlier than now, so it's cut off from now, and I say had turned red. This one is a little more common, and again, ignore the drawing if it doesn't help. But 2 happenings or events are in the past. Both are in the past, but one happens before the other. This happens, and then this happens, and then it's now. So the one that's closest to now is just going to be past, but this is a special past because it's moved farther back. For instance, the rain stops, and then I leave the office. The rain has stopped. Then you can say it that way, either way. Then I leave the office. Put them together. The rain had stopped when I left the office. That's in the past, but this is a second past, so it gets had stopped. The accident happens. After that, I walk out the door. Or the accident has happened, then I walk out the door. Now I'm going to tell you about that and put them together. The accident had already happened when I walked out the door. Now, already doesn't have to be there, but it's pretty common to put already, which emphasizes that it's farther back in time. Something is happening at the same time as another happening or event in the past. Both are in the past, and they're happening at the same time. For instance, the leaves fall, or the leaves are falling. I ride my bike. They're happening at the same time. Now I'm going to tell a story about it in the past. The leaves were falling as I rode my bike. This time, the R becomes were. The leaves were falling as I rode my bike down the road. Now, I made a typo on the next one. I'm so sorry, I didn't redo the poster. But this right here, if you see, that's lunch and lunch, like lunch down here. That's what it was supposed to be. And I didn't redo the poster, so here we go. Something happens, and then another thing happens, and then now. The doctor sees many patients. Then he leaves for lunch. The doctor has seen many patients is the same thing. Then he leaves for lunch. Put them together in the past. The doctor had seen many patients by the time he left for lunch. He left for lunch is just fourth form. But the one that went before that had seen many patients. And the last one, the airplanes take off. Then the storm arrives, or the airplanes are taking off. Many of them are taking off. Then the storm arrives. Put that in the past. The airplanes were taking off until the storm arrived. Both of these are in the past. The storm arrived. The airplanes were taking off. The until cuts it off for sure, but this one is first. It happened first. And then this one happened. The airplanes were taking off from are becomes were. And then this one is just regular fourth form because it's just past. I hope that helps. I hope it's not confusing. I needed to explain that because you're going to see was and were and had, and it hasn't fit many of the things that we've done in the past. Because I've spent so much time talking about verbs, I don't want to do it much anymore. I'm going to do one more passive verbs, and then I'm going to do other things besides just verbs. So I wanted to show you, in the past, I started out with explaining American English. And if you look at lessons 6A and 6B, you will learn a review of the verbs. Then I decided for some of my students, they needed more basics. So I did a beginning American English for a while. And in that, lesson 7 and lesson 12 and lesson 13 talk about verbs. And then I started doing the series I'm doing now, talking in American English, and all of these videos are about verbs. Some of it is repetitive, but my students needed it, so there's several lessons. And there will be a 24, which will be passive verbs. So I hope that you can review those, and it will help you. And I want you to know that I do care about you. I love all my students, and I hope you're doing well, and this is helpful, and that you feel safe, and that you have all of your needs met, and that you know that you're loved with family and friends and God. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.